All right, let's call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Redmond.
Here.
Howard.
Present.
Myers.
Here.
Showalter.
Here.
Thompson.
Here. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome. Got a lot of things going on tonight. We're going to start with some public hearings, starting with the hearing for the 2023 budget to exceed the revenue neutral rate. I believe we need to open the hearing. We'll open it at 5:01 p.m. And I believe, Kent, do you have something to wish to speak regarding the R&R?
Sure. We published a summary. It was published in the newspaper. Trying to follow the state legislature and what they have put forth as requirements for cities in Kansas. Last year's ad valorem tax rate was 48.879 mils to generate the amount of revenue that we needed. We had a property valuation in the city of $35,082,448. So that generated about $35,000 per mil. Our valuation went up to $37,433,732. So it went up just over $2 million in total value of all properties within the city. And because of that, the county clerk determined that in order to generate the same number of dollars, the revenue neutral rate would be 45.811. So that would require us to go from 48.879 mils to 45.811 mils. So we'd have to actually lower or keep the actual dollars. Now, for many, many years, the only requirement was that you try to keep the same rate. And that's what this city commission has approved as the published budget summary for consideration and for this hearing. And they approved a budget for publication that has the estimated ad valorem tax rate at 48.876, which is just a little bit less than 48.879, so 3/1000ths of a mil less. And that's based on the estimated valuation at this point of $37 million. So this would have been, there wouldn't have been any additional requirements for many years before the last 2 years when they changed the rules and said that you had to meet a revenue neutral rate. Last year was the first year for this city, as well as many other cities in Kansas, to consider it. And they chose to, or this body, this city commission for the city of Goodland, decided to meet the revenue neutral rate for 2022, which was decided in the middle of 2021, to lower the ad valorem taxes rate from 50.092 mils to 48.879. This year, this city commission decided that they would publish, and they try to, they looked at the cuts as far as the recommendations that were made by staff members and decided to keep it where it was at as far as the recommendation. So there may be some concern, but with all the different items that are providing pressures to how we deliver services, this city commission decided to keep it where it's at. So It is exceeding the revenue neutral rate, and that is, we are required to hold this hearing to see if anybody has objections. It doesn't mean the city commission has to change anything. They certainly can at this point. If someone would make an objection that would bring something up that the city commission would say, well, maybe we should do that. But there's no requirement. The requirement is only to have a public hearing and then to take a roll call vote to exceed the revenue neutral rate. And the one other consideration that always comes to mind and was presented to the city commission last year, as well as this year, is we base this published summary on the estimated property valuation. They'll have changes and they'll give us a final assessed valuation in late October or early November. So even if we would do everything just like last year, do everything to a T, but then there's some changes between the estimated valuation and the final valuation, we could still exceed the revenue neutral rate. And then you could still be in violation if you haven't held this hearing. So, so we chose, and the commission made that decision to go ahead and hold the revenue neutral rate hearing. And that way we meet all the requirements as far as the state legislature goes.
All right, thank you. Very good explanation, I think. So at this time, this is also your opportunity for public opinion. If anybody here has something they wish to say regarding the R&R rate, now would be the time. Okay. Appears there is no opinions coming forward, so let's go ahead and close the hearing for the R&R rate at 5:07 p.m. Okay, so now we're going to do basically the same thing regarding the budget as a whole. We're going to have a public hearing for anybody who has any opinions they wish to express regarding what we have out as our proposed budget. So we'll wait for the time to move on to the next minute here real quick.
Mayor, I could say a couple things, is that the budget was presented at two different commission meetings in July, and those meetings are available on YouTube and the different discussions regarding it. And then the final budget was published on the website over a month ago. I believe just over a month ago, but it's been on for several weeks. And all the documents that were presented to the city commission is posted there as well. So if anybody has any questions about any line item or any portion of the budget, there is quite a bit of documentation, a couple hundred pages worth, that's posted on the website.
Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and open up the public hearing for the 2023 city budget at 5:08 p.m. Kent, I don't know if you have any sort of a short review you wish to give regarding the budget.
This is the staff recommendations. We started with a budget that had several different things in it. The staff, after taking a look at it, made quite a few recommendations, and we had that listed within the documents. I don't have that in front of me right now, of over $500,000 in items that were removed from the budget. The total budget is $15 million, but that includes the electric utility, the water utility, the sewer utility, and also health and sanitation, as far as that's contracted out, but that's included within our budget. So there's several items within that that also includes over $400,000 dedicated to the airport fund and the different projects that are getting finished up out at the airport. So I wouldn't say that there's extreme things, anything extreme within the budget. It's pretty straightforward, trying to continue business as usual for the coming year, and trying to be able to be flexible enough to meet any of the demands that we might have over the next year. But don't want to repeat the budget because we have budget presentations because we had a lot of items on the agenda tonight. So
Okay, does anybody have any opinions or thoughts or concerns they wish to express regarding the 2023 city budget? Okay, if not, let's go ahead and close the budget hearing at 5:11 p.m. And then we have one more public hearing this evening regarding the performance hearing of the CDBG number 21-CV-131. Let's give this another half a minute to roll on to the next minute, and then we'll open up another hearing. Okay, let's open the public hearing for the CDBG CARES Act grant funding at 5:12 p.m. I believe we have Justine here to kind of give us an overview.
Hi, I'm Justine Benoit from Northwest Kansas Planning and Development Commission, and we were the grant administrator on this project.
Welcome.
At the conclusion of the Community Development Block Grant process, you have to hold a public hearing to let your public know what these grant funds were actually used for. So the City of Goodland applied and received this CV grant, and we proposed that we were going to give economic relief to eligible businesses in your city due to COVID-19. So our project actually assisted 2 businesses within your city limits, which resulted in 9 jobs retention in your city. This was to Crazy R's in $50,000 and Jackie's Hallmark and $30,000. The total grant award that Goodland received was $150,000, and then we will be returning the $56,600 back to the state that was unused. These funds go back into the grant pot, and then they would be redistributed for other grant funds as the state decides. At the end of most CDBG grants, you have to have a state monitoring. Someone from the state comes out, just make sure that your paperwork's completed, you've made motions for everything and followed the correct process. These are special grants and there is no formal state monitoring. The CV funds are not taxable to these businesses, and if one of your businesses unfortunately shut down, there is no hurt to them. They do not have to pay this grant back. So that was a quick overview of the grant that we did do. Does the commission have any questions or comments or concerns concerning this grant?
No, I don't think so.
If not, I would ask you to open it to the public for questions or concerns on this grant.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any comments or questions or concerns that they wish to speak up? I think we're good.
If not, that's the formal process. Later on in your formal action items, you will have approval to approve the closeout. It's just one motion to approve the closeout. Once that's approved, I send this to the state, and they will get it closed out on their books, send the final grant admin to your guys' account, and then you'll be done with that. So are there any questions for the commissioners concerning the ending of the grant process?
I don't think so.
If not, thank you for letting me work with you. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And on that note, let's go ahead and close the hearing at 5:15 p.m. Thank you. Okay, at this time, let's move on to our public comment. Has anybody signed up for?
We have somebody that is on 106 North Caldwell.
Hey, Brenda, if you want to come up here to the podium.
Since they were speaking on a specific topic, did you want them to speak now or at the topic time?
What?
Brenda Fisher. This is Gary Fisher. I know we're going to discuss 106 North Caldwell, but I wanted to explain something. We've been trying to get that property since the summer, and we have contacted Mike, and Mike thinks he gave it to the government. He is not quite in the right frame of mind. We talked to his caregiver, and they said they don't want anything to do with the property whatsoever. We've talked to his brother Jack, and Jack says he don't want anything to do with it. Right now, what we would like you guys to consider, I don't know what it's going to be, but my husband and I would like to acquire the property and fix it up so it wouldn't become an eyesore, and we would like to live there. So I'm not exactly sure, how we're going to do that, since it's still owned by Mike, and they don't want to pay any taxes or anything, because we've already talked to her. So we're just letting you know that we're interested in the property. Instead of tearing it down, because, around Goodland, there's always empty lots somewhere, and they're always trash, they're always everything. We would like to beautify this property and make it an asset instead of an eyesore.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Are you willing and able to stick around for the meeting to be able to be here when we have our more formal discussion regarding the property later on?
Oh, we would actually, what?
You want us to go down there with you and actually talk about it?
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, we would actually pay the back taxes and everything,
Sure. Okay, yeah, if you can stick around for a while, when we get to it on a formal action, we'll get a better idea of where things are regarding the property, if that's okay. But thank you. Anybody else signed up? Okay, let's move on to presentations and proclamations. We will start with our update for the Goodland Regional Medical Center. We have Craig Lovelace here. Good evening, sir.
How are you guys tonight?
Doing well.
So, it's been a few months, so I thought we'd start with the financials and give you an update there. So for the month ending July 31, which is the most recent completed month that we have, total income for the month was $1.999, just basically $2 million. Year to date, that's $12.2 million on our income before expenses. In our expenses, total is $1.78 million for the month and $11.9 million year to date. Of those expenses, approximately 50%, just over 50% of that is for employee salaries and benefits. That's totaling $888,900 for the month and $5.6 million year to date for employee salaries and benefits, health insurance, and since we're a self-funded plan. That gives us a total operating income, positive number for the month of $216,000, and for the year to date, $298,000. So it's been a pretty tight year on operating income.
Mm-hmm.
We're just kind of breaking even. The non-operating income piece, which is our tax revenue, 340B income, which is the reduced drug rates that we were able to do for pharmacies and whatnot. Those come up to a total of $194,000 for the month and 1.2 for the year. Gives us then a total net income for the month of 389,000, and for the year 1.3 million. So we're doing okay, but nothing I'm going to get excited and write home about. Last year we did a $1.2 million operating income, so we're quite a bit down from last year. But as I've explained to the hospital board, we went into the budget year this year, and you know what I'm talking about. You just did your budgeting with projecting a 8 to 14% inflation factor with no revenue increase. So, and I noticed you're not having a revenue increase either. So,
Yeah.
I think you understand where we're coming from there. And that's basically a function of about 67% of our expenses are reimbursed through Medicare. Okay, so it's just a straight cost reimbursement. And right now, the government program is not doing the sequestration. It's supposed to kick back in, but basically they give us 101%, and they take 2% back, so we get 99%. So, in other words, we don't get our costs covered. So, and on the commercial side, Anthem Blue Cross really has a stranglehold on the healthcare in this state, in the state of Kansas. They actually publish a schedule of what they will pay. They don't care what to charge. This is what we're going to pay for whatever procedures it might be. Their increase this year was 0. So as I said, we have no revenue increase whatsoever. So we're just trying to manage off of the prior years and what we've all accumulated. So I'm real excited at the fact that we're, from an operating standpoint, we're ahead about almost 300,000 year to date, and that's pretty exciting. So we basically beat the inflation. So far, we won't jump up and down too much.
Yeah.
The other thing I talked about when I was here before was the strategic plan and things we're doing. I just want to give a report back on some of our key initiatives and what we've done for the community and for our employees and overall. So number one, our first strategic pillar was working on strengthening and investing in our core services. And those core services are basically the Rural Health Center, which is the clinic where everyone goes to see their primary care provider. Our specialty clinic, we bring in a number of specialists, and we actually have a very active specialty clinic here in Goodland. It's very robust, and I'll go over some of those specialists. Well, to name a few, neurosurgery with Dr. Rosino, neurology with Dr. Nitka. We also have retina doctors coming. And by the way, Dr. Jakes is coming back. She was with another company that was here. They had to break up on their side, but she, as an independent, wants to come back. We've got her credentialing all done now. That's the osteoplastic surgery that they do around the eyes and eyelids and stuff. So she's going to be coming back to us. We've also introduced, we're working right now with some dermatologists, hopefully to get that in our community that we haven't had before, or haven't had for a while. Some of the things we've added, some of the services, dry needling in physical therapy. I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to have that procedure done, but some people confuse it with acupuncture. It's not the same thing at all. But basically it's a process of injecting into the muscle very fine needles, stimulating the blood flow. If you've got a tight shoulder or a tight joint, you slept wrong, come get this needling, they'll fix it just like that. It's really pretty amazing. So they're doing that along with some laser treatments that are very good at stimulating cell growth and helping your body heal itself as it were. So those are some of the specialties and things we're working on. One of the biggest things we've done is we've invested in our staff. Retention has been a big deal. We have done 2 salary reviews in the last, we did one in January and one in July. Each time had adjustments up to about 10%, and then with your annual increase, it's pretty flat, about 3%. So some of our employees have had as much as a 23% increase over the last year. That's not every employee, but average across the board has been just about a 10% increase in income for our employees. And along with that, we've done some retention bonuses to help them, weather the storms. As I said, I didn't give you what our current rates are, but inflation as of June was 9.1%. Through July, it had dropped down to about 8.6%. And so we're still fighting that inflation pretty heavily in our country. And that just go fill up a car with gas, and you know what I'm talking about. And so I commend you for staying down on your budget. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So anyway, we've also taken a good look at our benefits, and one of the areas that we see is a real problem. We do very well for the individual employee, but we have a lot of employees that have families, as most companies do. And the trend in the insurance world has been to pay for the employee, but not necessarily give a big benefit when they're trying to take care of a family. Tell a single mom that that's not important. So one of the things we're looking at right now is readjusting our benefits package to provide a better opportunity for families to be covered. I get very concerned when I see parents unable to cover their children with insurance. Now, I recognize that's not usually the high-paying area. That's not the high claims area. It's us, those of us who get a little bit older are the ones that make the biggest claims on insurance. But I just think that's something we really need to take a look at. We are looking at that as part of our benefits package this year for our employees. We've also had some really looking out to the community. I think you all saw the annual newsletter. A long time coming, a little later in the year than I wanted to, so look for it a little earlier next year to come out. But in conjunction with that, the employees have asked, can we get an update what's going on in the hospital more often than once a year? They want to know what's going on. We do regular meetings in the hospital. Every month I give them reports of the finances and where we are, but kind of a state of the hospital address to the employees who are trying to do that. Some quarterly newsletters and whatnot are coming out. On our community investment, additionally to that is the community health needs assessment. It's hard to believe we've already been 3 years. The next one's due next fall, so we're 2 years into it. So next year we're looking at doing another health needs assessment. So every 3 years we do those. The Medical Foundation is back in place and up and functioning. In fact, they're co-sponsoring a couple of events. Breast cancer awareness is the month of October. And on the October 8th, we'll be doing just a fun walk, raising money for our radiology department to help with mammographies and things that help with breast cancer awareness. So October 8th, if you're up for it, 8 a.m. is registration, 9 a.m. we'll do the walk, and it's $25 if you pre-register. If you wait till the day of the event, it's $30. You'll get a free shirt. I think we're going to walk down to the police station and back, so we'll have water stations at the hospital and at the police station. And the first 150 sign-ups get a T-shirt. So, a pretty easy way to help out the foundation and to help out the hospital, and particularly this time the radiology department. We've also seen an area that we've been missing for a couple of years is our health fair. So in conjunction with the county health department, we'll be doing a health fair this year. There's scheduled screenings, and you can look on the website to get the specifics of which ones those are for the first week of October. And then we'll be doing the lab draws where we have the reduced rate fees for your labs. And that will be on the week of the 10th of October, that whole week, the 10th through the 14th. So look for those events. Going on to trying to continue our growth, we've talked about the specialties. And one of the things we've done is we've also enhanced our revenue cycle, which is basically looking at where we get our biggest number of complaints, which is billing. And no one likes to pay their bill. It's expensive. So we've hired a full-time person. She was already employed with us, actually in the Atwood in Rawlins County Hospital, but she is now working over 3 hospitals to help us put that into place to make sure that we get that process from the time you check in to the time you pay your bill with some understanding. Part of that we're trying to do is bring in a patient advocate. I don't know about the rest of you, but when I get my EOB, my explanation of benefits from the insurance company, I don't understand it. It'd be nice to have somebody to help me explain that, what that really means. So we're trying to provide that at the hospital. So if you have a question on your bill, you can pick up the phone and call them. phones has been an issue at the hospital. We're also addressing that, so hopefully we'll have that resolved when you do call. And I think the last piece is, again, on employee engagement. We've been working very hard. Our engagement scores have come up. Engagement is really measured by what's your intent is your intent to stay with the hospital for the next 2 years, or your employer in this case it's the hospital. How valued do you feel, and how informed and a part of the process are you? So that's all the things we're working on there. Those scores, by the way, have come up significantly for us. We've seen across the nation a drop of roughly 10% in those engagement scores in all industries, not just in healthcare. And ours have actually gone up, not a big jump, but about 4%. So it's pretty significant when you compare to the national average. We've done very well. The final thing I want to go over tonight is we have the question asked quite a bit of what benefit do we get from the management company, from Centura is the company that manages us. So I just thought it would be important for the community to really hear these numbers. So the hospital pays $187,000 a year for the management contract. What they get in return for that is about $230,000. We actually get more back than we pay, but I'll go through those. So approximately $130,000 is provided in reimbursements for flights to bring specialists into the community. Centura reimburses us that amount of money. About $18,000 for what we call private plan, which is our HIPAA training and other required training that we have to do every year. That's about $18,000. These employee surveys we've talked about, Centura pays for those. That's about $14,000. There's a specified trainer program that we receive roughly $30,000 a year benefit. Up to Date, which is the online medical resource guide where all the providers go to if they need to look up something about a particular disease or illness or how you treat it and things are going on. That's roughly $15,000 that subscription is paid for every year. We are able to participate in the general purchasing organization, the GPO that comes through from Centura. It saves about 10% on all of our supplies, and that totals about $40,000 to $50,000 a year. We have a dispensing system, a control system for drugs and other supplies. It's called Omnicell. We were able to purchase that through Centura directly and save about $20,000 on purchase of that equipment. About $11,000 on biomedical services, and then some of the non-dollar items, but just things we know. Sly Medical, which does our emergency room, which is a really good group to work with. We have now got our trauma preparedness education, so that we become a trauma certified hospital. We're ready for it. We're just waiting for the state to get their surveys out. They're about a year behind, so hopefully we'll get that done soon. And then we have access to, obviously, Centura's policies and procedures and all their leadership training. So those are just some of the benefits we get from Centura, and I think it's really been a real benefit to us. And of course, there's benefits to them, as they have a referral pattern. As we have people that need a higher level of care than we can provide, a lot of those will be transferred to a higher level care hospital that's a Centura facility. So basically, that's my report. If there are any questions, I can answer.
Anybody have any questions, comments?
Thank you for having me, and hopefully we will make this a little more regular, so we can be back and keep you updated on the hospital.
All right, I appreciate the
All right,
update.
thanks so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next thing. We have the Eagle Scout project, it says proposal by Jarrett Crow. Come on up to the podium, introduce yourselves, and
My name is Jared Crow. I'm getting ready to be an Eagle Scout.
congratulations on that.
So, my Eagle Scout project is at the Goodland Gun Club. It is a pavilion and pouring pads for benches at the skeet range and trap range. So my Eagle Scout project consists, my project will be adding a pavilion and 2 benches, 2 memorial benches as part of a viewing area at the skeet range, and 4 memorial benches at the trap range. The pavilion will include a cement base, picnic tables, and gun racks. I will also be moving the parking area back and pouring 2 cement pads for benches. The memorial benches were donated from Pheasant Spread. So this is what the skeet range looks like before. It was just pretty open, no shade, hot. And then this is what the trap lane range looked like before. It was just pretty basic. Nowhere to really sit other than up by the clubhouse. There's 2 little benches and a little picnic table. So, and I actually just got done doing my pavilion. It's almost finished. So that's what it looks like now. It's a 12 by 24 pavilion. So the trap range, it has 4 benches now in it. So I had to, as you can see in these photos, I had to frame up 4 of those pads at the skeet range and trap range. Sloshers donated fiber and mileage for my project. Why it's needed is there are 3 different shooting sports teams that take place at the gun club. There's no shade at the skeet range. It also allows for people to sit during, like, when we have competitions at the gun club, skeet leagues and trap leagues that the gun club puts on, and just for shade. And it's nice to go sit down somewhere and not be in the sun. Northwest Tech Shooting Sports is one of the teams that shoots there. The Northwest Tech shoots at the gun club on Mondays and Wednesdays. The team uses the skeet range a lot, which is a reason why we need to have shade, because they shoot down there for 3 to 5 hours pretty much. The team keeps growing every year for them. They have 16 kids now. They will also be hosting a circuit competition with other colleges in the near future, which will bring a lot of people to shoot at the gun club, and with no shade, it's not very reasonable. The GHS shooting sports team also participates at the gun club. They use the skeet range on Sundays and Wednesdays. They have about 20 kids on their team, me being one of them. We use it on Sundays from like 4:30 to almost 8 o'clock. So we're there a long time with 30 kids there, plus if you figure 2 parents each that come watch and no shade, they need somewhere to sit. So the 4-H shooting team is the biggest shooting team that takes place at the gun club. They practice on Sundays, June through October, from about 4 to 6:30 or 7. The 4-H also puts on a yearly state qualifier. This year we hosted 95 competitors, which is one of the highest that we've put on. The qualifier lasts This year we had to do 2 days for skeet because it just takes longer. And it gets really hot down there for all the competitors that are watching. So this year, what we had to do down there for them is, since it was so hot, we put up like 3 pop-up tents for all the helpers and for the people shooting. But it's just going to be really good to have. I have a budget sheet. The end cost with everything is $5,236. Just the pavilion and by itself is $2,998. I'm planning, if I get enough money raised, to buy 2 tables made out of recycled tires, just like the benches that were donated, but they're $1,000 each, which is my biggest dilemma. So that's the last step of the project. Any questions?
How long ago did you start this project?
I started about 2 weeks ago, but I've been planning it for about 3 months.
3 months. Well, looks like it's coming along very nicely.
Yeah.
There's definitely a need out there, and
Yeah.
it's good that the gun club out there is growing, and
Yeah.
you know, the number
It's
of
grown
members
pretty
and
fast.
people going out there. So, yes, thank you for taking on this project to help provide shade and comfort for everybody who goes out there to the gun club. Anybody else has anything they want to add?
Which money have you raised so far, Jared?
I know the college has donated $1,500, and then I have like a few $100 donations here and there, and then the Pheasants Forever obviously donated all the benches, and they also donated the concrete pads for the benches. So
What else are you doing to go out to try to raise funds?
I'm going to Kiwanis in the near future and other organizations.
How much time do you have to get to finish it? How much more time?
Not a lot. The rest we really have to do is we're waiting on gutter and tin for the road. Other than that, it's done, and of course the benches.
Anything else? All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, thank you for presenting, and
Yes.
Yep.
okay, let's move on then to the consent agenda. We have A, 8/15/22 commission meeting minutes, B, the 8/29/22 joint commission meeting minutes, and C, the appropriation ordinances of 2022-17, 2022-17A, 2022-17B, 2022-P17, and 2022-P17A. Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns on any of those?
I move that we approve the consent agenda items A, B, and C.
I have a motion by Commissioner Redlin,
I'll second that.
a second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Myers? Yes. Howard?
Yes.
Redmond?
Yes.
Showalter?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to formal actions. Starting with Resolution 1594, or levy property tax rate exceeding the RNR. Find it here. And this is basically just the resolution to approve what we had discussed earlier regarding the exceeding the revenue neutral rate. If anyone has any other further discussion they wish to have on this?
Make a motion to approve Resolution 1594.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Showalter and a second by Commissioner Redlin. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Showalter,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Redmond,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to B, the approval of the 2023 budget. We've all had ample time to look over this massive book of numbers. Anybody have any other final thoughts or concerns or changes they wish to bring up?
I move that we approve the 2023 budget.
I have a motion by Commissioner Showalter.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion? I just want to say that, just considering how crazy of a year this has been the last year or so, I think everybody did a really good job with this budget. There's not really anything in there to take us above and beyond kind of what we have going right now. It's more of a, let's just keep things running the best we can and hope things maybe look a little better in a fiscal sense come next year. But thank you, everybody, for all the hard work you did on this budget. With that, roll, please.
Redmond,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to C. Approval of the closeout documents regarding the CDBG number 21CV-131 grant funding.
Motion that we approve the closeout documents for CDBG 21 CV 131.
I'll second.
Just trying to see if we had to include any dollar amounts in there. I don't think so. I think it's all in there. I have a motion by Commissioner Showalter and a second by Commissioner Redlin. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Myers,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Redmond,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to D, Resolution 1595 regarding the KDOT cost share grant application for Caldwell Avenue. Kent, if you had anything you want to speak to that?
Well, I can initiate it, and Andrew Bruner with EBH Engineering can probably provide the greater part of it, but KDOT has begun accepting applications for the cost share program on eligible transportation projects. We'd like to submit a grant application for a mill and overlay of Caldwell Avenue. I know there's Caldwell is also listed within the county sales tax question, but it isn't that we're trying to duplicate things, it's just which route. There's no guarantee, first of all, regarding the cost share application that it would be approved. Second of all, we've been talking about the county sales tax question basically for almost a year at this point. And this really wasn't a possibility. They just announced, KDOT just announced that they are accepting applications on this program about a month ago from today's date. So it wasn't even a possibility several months ago when we started discussing with the county. The other thing is that the county sales tax question, I would suspect based on material costs and inflationary pressures that we'll be fortunate to be able to complete just the 8th Street project as portion of the county sales tax question. And if there would be the possibility of doing anything on Caldwell Avenue, it's still there. So this provides an opportunity that wasn't there previously. So, Andrew, I probably took away a couple of your talking points, but go ahead.
I was just going to ask, got any other questions? Yeah, I put together an estimate with, of course, our costs from 6 months ago have inflated with oil prices and things of that sort. So hoping by the time we would bid this out, prices would be down. There's no guarantee, but we kind of had to work off the worst case scenario. So I think you guys probably saw the packet, and I really hope it didn't accidentally print you off an 11 by 17 instead of 11 by 8.5. But I guess were there any questions as far as the application was concerned, or any of the supporting documents? We do have to get a minimum, probably one letter of support. I was going to talk to Ben at the college, and then also Bill at the high school and the intermediate schools that we mentioned in the grant application, since that is a primary route that those schools do use. So
The other thing that staff and Andrew talked about was including a cost share of 20% on the project in the application. There's a minimum of 15%, but when Andrew talked with KDOT, they very much encouraged that it would be a higher than 15% cost share for the local in order to be considered
competitive.
a competitive candidate.
Yep.
So, and what this would do, you know, Andrew included some of the information, and he did take core samples within the street to gauge the depth of it, but it basically mill the surface from 10th to 17th on Caldwell, and then overlay 2 inches with some other areas addressed specifically. If there was holes or deterioration in certain parts, there would be added asphalt put in those parts.
Or we have more serious cracking, like in some of the pictures that we're turning in with the application, where we see the alligator cracking or the surfacing popping. Those are candidates for areas that we'd want to do a full depth patch replacement in those areas, and then come back over the top of it with a beautiful light.
But the resulting road would have better drainage than it does currently, although it does pretty well currently, but the top 2-lane portion of it, it's almost like a tabletop in some areas at this point, so.
All right, and we had discussed previously, but we were looking at our cost share, or share of the cost would be coming out of basically next year's chip seal budget to cover this cost if we were to be accepted, approved for the project, so.
Street Superintendent Ken Keith, he has agreed this is a worthwhile project. I don't know if you have any other comments regarding this grant application, Ken?
No, I think it's a good opportunity to make this work. I know it's kind of one of the streets that's main road that everybody drives it, and it's pushed out, and it stopped at 10th Street. When the previous one over there, so it's been out 10th to 17th, and it's a good opportunity, I think.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
I move that we approve Resolution 1595.
I have a motion by Commissioner Redland,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, let's move on to E, Resolution 1596, regarding support for the 1% sales tax question. Kent?
At the
You're
last
up.
joint meeting with the county commissioners and with the city of Canerado, it was recommended that the city commission approve basically a resolution in support of placing on the ballot on November 8th, upcoming this fall, a question to levy a sales tax of 1% for road improvements. Now that 1%, whatever is generated by that 1% sales tax, would be split among the three entities between Sherman County, City of Goodland, and City of Cañarado. And the portions for each one would be 25% for the City of Goodland, which is the most important priority as far as the city is concerned, but that Cañarado would be 5%, and then 70% would go to Sherman County. And it does list the projects within the ballot issue. There was one question that was asked at the joint commission meeting, asked if we could include a phrase at the end regarding the listing of projects. If it could be added, a phrase that would give us a little bit of wiggle room in case emergency would come up and we'd have to dedicate resources to a different area of need. And we did receive that this afternoon from the bond attorney, and Josh highlighted it there for just 2 seconds, and then it worked. So, and then they basically added that both in the resolution for the county to approve as well as the ballot, what will appear on the ballot issue itself, that it would have the projects listed of 8th Street, and if funds available, Caldwell Avenue, or if an emergency exists as found and determined by the city's governing body, any street or roadway of the city. So that does give a little bit. Obviously, we would be very conscious not to pursue that unless it was absolutely necessary. But that at least has a possibility for the city if it needs to. But the main project is the first one listed, 8th Street. Obviously, the county listed quite a bit of projects, mainly dealing with Highway 24 through the county. So, and then the City of Cañarado has their own things within their city. So, but this resolution is just a resolution of support to put the issue to the ballot. And then that we support that. And that's about all I have.
Anybody have any other questions or comments?
I guess, like, when we were going through this process and, like, trying to understand, like, what the county's asking, all of those roads up there, that's all of the paved roads in Sherman County. Am I not mistaken?
That they may have responsibility for.
Correct.
There's other paved roads that the state has responsibility
Sure.
for. But I don't know. I haven't looked at it that way.
I think that's, if I remember right, that's how it was stated. I don't know. I just think that them doing a blanket, after I thought about this week, so I apologize. I'm coming to you right now with it, but I think that's a really poor way to present something. If there's a direct need, it needs to be addressed. And just doing a blanket statement, I don't think is a fair representation to the taxpayers themselves.
I can't speak to what the county commissioner's thought process is regarding how they came up with their wording. You know, I kind of look at it overall as, you know, it's a need that we have.
Sure.
You know, to be able to have funds available to take care of our paved roads within the county, whether that be county roads, city roads, Cañarado roads. You know, the need is there. The funding for that need is going to have to come from somewhere at some point. You know, you can either let things deteriorate to a horrible way and not pay for things for a long time to try to save money. You can try to stay on top of projects as they start to deteriorate, like we're trying to do with 8th Street. You know, but as far as them not having very specific projects listed, I personally, that doesn't bother me, just because I think they have a lot wider birth of roads that may be deteriorated in different ways in different spots. It may be a little more difficult to pinpoint such specific projects. Again, I'm just speculating from my own thought. I don't know what their thought process is. We can sure, actually, I don't know if at this point in time, in order to have it on the ballot for the November election, if there would be time to address it with them to see if they would have, if they could explain themselves a little more as to what their thought process is, you know. But I mean, I understand where you're coming from and what you're saying, especially with, you know, it's a long-term tax.
Yeah.
On the county, and it would be good to see specifically where that money is going. But at the same time, because it is such a long-term tax to cover such a wide range of roads, it could also be difficult to be so specific. At this point in the game, you know, who knows what they may have 15 years from now, you know, but that's how I look at it anyway. But I think this is a very valid concern, and the same thing with the city of Catarina. They're kind of the same way. All streets and roadways within the city. We're the only ones that really have a specific project that we have on there.
Yeah, I feel good about our wording in there. If that's how the county chooses to word their ballot initiative, then that's, you know, something that the voters will get to decide, I guess. So I don't see any issue with it. I feel like, you know, what we're doing here is saying that, you know, this is a project that we've been working on for the last year. That's, you know, what they're identifying. Have chosen that language, and if the voters don't agree with it, then I guess they'll vote no.
Yeah, and ultimately, you know, we as citizens of the county, we can go to the commissioners ourselves and ask them to explain further within their meetings, if they would, you know, a better idea of exactly what their thought process is. Like I said, this is a resolution of support for the ballot measure, which will be in November. So there's still lots of time for everybody to kind of determine and make up their mind how they feel about it. But ultimately, yeah, the best thing would probably be for us to, you know, just as citizens of the county, to talk with our county commissioners and say, hey, do you have more specific ideas as to what you're looking at doing with the funding other than just all the roads? And I would encourage everybody to do that if you have concerns regarding what the wording is or confusion as to exactly what it is we're trying to accomplish.
I think the wording for what we as a city want to do is really good and explanatory and basically straightforward. The county, if you look at what they've done, yeah, there seems to be a lot of roads up there, but really there isn't. It might be a mile here and a mile there on certain roads, but that's their prerogative.
Any other thoughts?
Forward to it being on the ballot, hearing what everybody has to say.
Well, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I move that we approve Resolution 1596.
I'll second that.
A motion by Commissioner Myers and a second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Redmond. No.
Howard.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Showalter.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to Resolution 1597. Regarding the emergency action pursuant to Section 7-612 for 106 North Caldwell. We have
Good
Jeff
evening.
up the podium. Thank you.
Try and make it quick for you guys. Brought this onto your attention on the August 15th meeting. Just a quick brief rundown. Utilities were shut off in 2017. USDA relinquished the mortgage on it in 2019. April of 20. Previous building inspector started the process, did a title search, and kind of stopped at that point. I've received several complaints. I started on it about midsummer. Talked to the caretaker, not Mr. Barnhart himself, and he just like the officials had said, just really said he didn't own the property, returned it back to the government. So kind of what we're looking to start is just to get an action to throw the property to where the city would have the authority to go in there and board up the windows that are broken, make sure it's secured and locked, so we keep kids out of it, squatters, and so forth. And that's kind of where I'm at with on this. You know, down the road, we'll continue looking at the action of, you know, if they do want to sell it, give them a little time here. But in the meantime, we'll just keep on going through the process, you know, trying to secure it up and then try and get it cleaned up. And if anything, we got to take it down, we'll take it down, you know. Just take the process slowly, so.
Okay, so basically we're just looking at today a resolution to go in and be able to board it up basically and make it safe, as safe as we can to keep anybody from going on the property. Stuff. Moving into the future, we may be looking into tearing it down. As far as current ownership, we as a city do not have any say in as far as ownership. If you guys were looking into obtaining ownership of the property, you will need to make contact with the owner of the property. But
We talked to Mike Barnhart, and he is on the deed, but he, like I said, he's not quite all there, so we talked to his caregiver, which is Renee. We have a phone number for her, and she said that she just wants to give it to the city. We're trying to redo it and save the city some money, because right now their taxes are $5,100 and some odd dollars. And then if you go and you tear it down, that's all the cost of tearing down and taking things and stuff. I don't know why you guys wouldn't want to give us a chance to, you know, improve the property and do what needs to be done. We actually, honestly, we should have been over there, but we did go over there and we did remove all that glass in front of the window, and we did nail up a tarp so that none of the neighborhood kids would get hurt. I know we're not supposed to be on there, but that's what we did. We just wanted a chance to fix it up and it become ours, and instead of having a, you know, an empty lot with trash and everything else around, like it doesn't make sense. So, but I can give you all the information for the lady who takes care of Mike and where Mike is.
as far as, I mean, you would still have time to try to pursue an ownership of the property at this point. As far as the city's involvement of that, the city would not be involved in that right now because the city has not owned the property. So I don't know if maybe if you had a lawyer or somebody you can touch with on the legal side that could help you with whatever you needed to do with the owner as far as gaining ownership. Because as of now, you know, Mr. Barnhart is the owner, and that is where your transfer of ownership would have to come from him in some way or another, not through the city, is what I'm trying to say.
The city can take it from taxes and then put it in a tax sale, and then we buy it from the tax sale.
As far as tax sales and stuff go, that is actually a county thing. The county does that, not the city. You know, our interest would be to make the property safe, and if it's an unfit structure, you know, at some point in time, you know, we would go in and tear it down. But that is a process that we go through. That's not an immediate thing we would go in and do. So if you would have time to try to find your avenues that you can to try to get ownership of the property and start to fix it up. But that's going to have to go through other means other than through the city. Okay? Is that clear enough for what you'll need to do? So you do have time, but it'll have to, like I said, be through avenues other than through the city.
But you're not gonna tear it down right now?
Not
No.
immediately, no. But we will, I mean, we are going to start in the process of looking at it and determining what we need to do. But that does take several months. But it's a fairly decent, long process. So you should have time.
There would be a public hearing before we do something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the mayor is trying to state, like, your next thing that you need to do is either talk to Mr. Barnhart or to the caregiver, whoever's making this statement that they want to give it to the city, and you need to try and persuade that, we would like to acquire the property. That's your next move.
When we talk to Mike, Mike is in the process of believing, I have nothing against him, but he believes in aliens and he believes in all this other stuff. So when we contacted him, he got angry because that means that if we found him, the other people can find him. And so we called his caregiver, his brother gave us the number of his caregiver, and we talked to her, and she said she just wants the city to take it because they don't want to pay $5,000 worth of taxes and everything else. So that's why we're here today, because we don't know what else to do.
And the mayor also stated, you should also probably pursue a lawyer, to help you work around the legalities, because in his state of mind, he probably has to have somebody that's
Power of attorney.
power of attorney to handle those certain situations. Is that, Jake? I'm looking at you. Is that?
To be honest with you, we're starting to tread into some private.
Yeah, yeah.
So, in all reality, the city does not have any ownership interest in this property.
None.
We would only have an interest in it if it went through a tax sale and we had to bid a minimum bid if we had the cost of tearing it down, doing abatement, something along those lines. As far as anything beyond that, we have to deal with the current owner of the property. Anybody else would need to go through the process of actually legally having it transferred to them.
Thanks, Jake.
Okay, so we're back to the resolution of 1597. Is there any other further questions or concerns regarding that?
Make a motion to approve resolution 1597.
Have a motion by Commissioner Showalter,
I'll second.
a second by Commissioner Redland. Any other further discussion?
The one thing I would want to mention is, it does state in the resolution that it says, be it further resolved that all code enforcement officers and their representatives are authorized to carry out any steps required to erect barricades or cause the property to be vacated, taken down, repaired, shored, or otherwise made safe. Our intention is only to make the property safe. We're not intending to tear it down at this point, but this is the common language that we use in order to take emergency action. So, for the public purpose, that's why it's stated there, but our intention is just to make the property safe at this point.
Thank you, Ken. Any other discussion? Roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, let's move on to G, Resolution 1598 regarding an unfit structure at 516 West Highway 24, Lot 309. Jeff?
Hello again. Okay, kind of just a quick rundown. Back in August 12th, got called from the city police and animal control about the property being rough shape. There's possible animals in there that were in need of some major care also. On entering the property, the smell and the trash was pretty atrocious. So anyway, we walked through, found an animal in there, a few animals that, there's some charges pending on that case. Walking back through, a little bit later, I went back out, walked back through with the officers and found live wiring, a lot of leaks, roofs leaking, of course, all the trash, the dog feces all over the place. It's pretty much past the state of repair. Just like I've said, related to Frankie, you know, the smell was pretty rough. And talking with the owner, he's kind of he understands the process that I hung a sign up, he can't go into the property, notice to vacate. The only way he can go in the property is if he contacts myself or law enforcement to go in and get some stuff out whenever. So, and in doing so, we're kind of asking the commission to move forward and set a hearing, I believe in October, to go ahead and have the property on the demolition list. So.
Okay, so yep, October 17th is where it's listed as.
Sir.
Where's this one at? I'm trying to think of.
Metal Arc. It's just east of Miller's.
Oh, okay.
The trailer park owner own that, or is that privately owned?
It's private owned. The trailer park owner owned it, and the gentleman that owns it now just made the final payment, I want to say March of, it might have been this year, so he just
Okay.
kind of a rent-to-own type of thing. So.
And you've been in contact with both the trailer park owner and the owner of the trailer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I went through the county and got the paperwork and the bill of sale and so forth. We can't do a title search. So I went there and they have a book in there and they open it up and they find out who owns it on the lot. So I got the property owner, the personal property, and then also the bill of sale. So.
Nobody's residing there right now?
No.
Okay.
No.
So even though it's on this, the property owner's property.
It's at the trailer park.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that falls on us. Or I guess I'm trying to figure out for the removal and things.
for the removal,
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with the trailer park, trying to see if they would take action we've had one removed from there, and the trailer park manager, they paid for it.
Okay.
So I've been talking with him, and the mess inside is where he's at. He doesn't want to clean that up.
Yeah.
So,
Just duct tape it,
yeah.
hold it all in.
So.
Any other further discussion? Not, I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 1598.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Showalter. I will second. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. And we move on to H, Resolution 1599, regarding another structure out there, 516 Highway 24, Lot 417 this time.
Okay. Well, visiting with the owner of the 309, he owns this trailer as well. 4 years ago, he got asked to go out and get out of it. It was loaded with black mold. It still sits there. He just uses it for storage, which not supposed to. He doesn't really want the trailer. It's deteriorated a lot more than the last time he was in there. He said it's been about a year since he went in. We went in last Friday, took some pictures, and the whole living room ceiling is falling in from the water leaking. And he noticed several more leaks in the ceiling, where it started to leak even more. So he's got some personal property in there, just wants to remove it, and same thing, he just doesn't want the trailer anymore. Doesn't have the funds to fix it, it's past the point of fixing, so. Just kind of, same thing, asking for approval to move forward with demolition on this one as well. Like I said, this trailer park's been a little rough one. We've one loaded with cockroaches that we got rid of the 1st of August. So this will be kind of a third one in this little area that trying to clean it up the best we can anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Any other comments?
I move that we approve Resolution 1599.
A motion by Commissioner Redland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, let's move on to I, appointing voting delegates for the annual League of Kansas Municipality Conference. Kent?
Mayor, members of the commission, the annual conference for the League of Kansas Municipalities will be held in Overland Park in October 8th through 10th. As part of that, they have a regular business meeting for the regular items they bring to the entire membership in all the cities across Kansas. And as part of that, they allow, based on population, certain number of delegates to that business meeting. For the size of the city of Goodland, we are allowed 2 delegates. At this time, we only have 1 person from the city of Goodland that will be attending the conference, is myself. If any commissioners would like to attend, please let me know as soon as possible. That would be great. That'll work out. But the business meeting is on it's held on Monday, October 10th. So, but they need something from the city stating that they approved whoever to attend as the representative on behalf of the city of Goodland for that business meeting. And that's what you're being asked for tonight.
I will say that I would love to be able to attend. As previously discussed, I do have a conflict that does not allow me to go. I would encourage, I did go to the mayor's conference earlier this year, and it was fantastic. And if there was any way any of you guys had the time and wanted to go, I would encourage you very much to go, because it is a good learning experience for sure. But as of for right now, we have 1 person going. We have a need for a delegate to represent the city. So I would entertain a motion to appoint Kent as our voting delegate for the city of Goodland.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Showalter and a second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Congratulations, Kent. Okay, and move on to the last item on the list of formal actions. Item J, a resolution in support of the Moderate Income Housing Grant application. Kent?
And,
Wow.
and Joyce is here as well. She's hiding around the corner. She's the one that's put together most of the grant application, so should allow her to speak.
Okay. Lisa, if you would, please.
Hello. So I'm just coming back this time. At the last meeting I was here, I kind of gave a short presentation that we were pursuing the MIH, the Moderate Income Housing Grant application for the City of Goodland in partnership of our Housing Committee. And so moving forward in that, I talked with Kent, and we have put together a resolution to start building our land bank. And so I kind of, tonight I just wanted to present that to you guys. The application is not due until September 30th. We are working with Justine from the Northwest Kansas Planning and Development Commission. She's putting all of our application together, so we've been working with that to get that compiled, and so just kind of getting all the pieces in order for them to be able to get that prepared and submitted on behalf of the city. Originally, our plan was to have it submitted on behalf of SCCD, Sherman County Community Development, but they haven't quite changed the verbiage for that, so we do have to apply through one of the entities, either city or county, and then those funds can be transferred over into that program or incentive to move forward with that program and that. So they're hoping next year we'll be able to do that. It's not a one and done, so if you have multiple projects over the next couple years, you can still apply for more MIH funds to help with those projects, and that's kind of, if we get this going, we can go back later on and continue to apply to for that land bank in this project that we're working towards.
Just as a reminder, this is for the hope to get funding to build a house over on the property at 326 Sherman, I believe.
Yes, that's the short term, yep. Long term is to continue that and to build a land bank so that we can start to utilize, reuse, and recycle the lots that we have in our community to replenish our housing stock.
Okay, anybody have any questions? I believe we all have a copy of this resolution 1600 in front of us.
No questions, but or for me anyway, but I appreciate your work on this. I know housing is a pressing issue all over the state, so thank you for stepping forward and working to alleviate those issues.
Yeah, it's been a great partnership, working with Brooke and Kent and Jeff on the board, and then county, and then we also have our representative from SCCD, so having all those voices and just working together to see what we can come up with to find that solution has been great. I will say there is another opportunity that's been presented called Rural Champions, and so we're looking at that as a potential filler to have a person who is in our community focused on this project to help move this forward. So we will be applying for that on behalf of SCCD to help kind of focus on this program and get that even pushed further for next year. So.
That's awesome. Any other comments, concerns? Not, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 1600.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Howard,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Redland. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to discussion items, starting with A, the West School traffic pattern. I have Sheriff Penalto here. I think if you had anything you wish to speak of regarding this.
Sorry, I didn't have time to really do any more investigation or talk with people. Been quite a busy week. I'd like to thank the public and everything from the board to the sheriff's office, everything going on, and appreciate the support to helping get things done. But I think we need to really continue to discuss this. I don't expect to make a decision tonight, but be able to talk about it and see what we can do to help alleviate the problem, so that we can protect our children. But, I talked a little bit with Kent. Just a little bit here, but he had some other ideas and stuff, but I don't know if we need to sit down with the school board or the administration and try to figure out the best avenue. But I think honestly, we need to eliminate traffic one way or another, one way, like I proposed. I like some of the suggestions you guys made that night. There's a lot of stuff that can be done. I can't remember, you were talking about making it one way to the west.
Yeah, like coming in off of 12th Street, having to go one way, and then
Right.
back out on 11th Street, and then maybe making even it's like a right turn only outside of the 11th Street exit there.
Yeah.
You know, just whatever. There's probably different ways you could look at it, the way it's currently set up, to try to alleviate it some. I think I kind of agree most important would probably be to get rid of the two-way traffic over there on the 11th Street side. That is just,
And also if we can kind of eliminate where we dump, because if we dump it to the west, we're dumping them out on the Wyoming, where
buses are parked, there's a lot of traffic there. Honestly, if we could go to Texas with all the traffic and actually put stop signs on both sides, so Texas had to stop, then the traffic could leave very quickly out of that area, in that one-way area. And that's one good benefit of having to go down to Texas. There's not much traffic there. And like if you did put stop signs on the north-south directions, then the traffic leaving the school would never have to stop. They could have it right away.
Any
Well,
thoughts?
One thing that the city staff did do is the street crews did go ahead and repainted probably, but although they weren't there currently, as far as crosswalks up at the 11th and Wyoming intersection. And that should help at least as far as the pedestrian traffic through that intersection. That's not going to solve the entire issue, but it's just every little thing we can do to help the situation.
Yeah, Ms. Dottle made a comment. She was really amazed that that got done so quick. That she looked out and saw them paint, and it was like, that was amazing. I think she appreciated that.
Street crews were right on it. So.
Yeah, and it might be a good discussion best further had with either, members of the school board or the administration, whoever kind of makes the final decisions as to how they have the flow of traffic go around the school and stuff.
Right.
With the commission to kind of all brainstorm together to be on the same page and come to a solution, at least short term, as far as the best way to try to alleviate some of the congestion that goes on around there. But
I mean, if we did do that to the east, one way, I mean, if you made that a dirt road, it wouldn't be that expensive to do. I think having to cut the curb on Texas Street would be the most extensive part, cutting that out. But you could do the temporary cutout like they do where they just knock it down to where it's not a curb and then turn it into a dirt road or gravel road. That's one thing Mr. Bierman and I talked about a lot, just having an access way to get out, and later on look at ways that maybe paving it. But if you just did one lane going out, then it wouldn't be that big of an expense to do that.
Kenton, do you know, is there any drainage issues or anything in that area if there were to be a street put in there? I know.
I kind of went and looked at it. I didn't see any. Have you walked through there?
That's the main drainage right there, right, you can direct the traffic there.
Is it-
That would be a concern. Possibly a culvert or something. Because I believe right through here, where the main flow comes in, correct, from Texas Street. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure when we get huge, big water, it actually overflows that and then down that. It could be an issue, I'm not positive, that's, something we have to look into
I think it might be worthy of having some kind of working group put together to try to explore different options to try to fix it for sure. It's not something that, we're not gonna be able to fix it right away, but definitely something that we can get some heads together for agencies that are all involved in that area and try to figure out the best way to move forward with it.
That'd be
One thing
well-
I've figured out since taking this job is that streets are really expensive. Roads are very, very expensive. But can't put a price on the safety of our kids, so we'll do.
I'll be on,
figure something out, so.
I'd love to be on that committee if possible. And I'll make another comment, I probably should have made it earlier, but the reason this county listed all that, because that's what they used to take care of with the 1% sales tax. That's what they used to pay for. Oh, I'm sorry, the question about the 1% sales tax was the county, that's the roads that they took care of with the 1% sales tax for the last 5-6 years that it's been in effect.
So maybe it was just a carryover of the previous wording.
Right.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But speculation on my part.
Probably should have said something when you were talking about it. I'd love to work on a board if you guys have one set up, so.
We'll try to put together or initiate discussions of how that would best work with the school district, whether it's school board members or school district and administration. And try not to use up too much time of everybody's time, but then come forward with what are the options to handle it and the priority of what would work best.
Thank you, Burton. Any other discussion on that? Let's move on to B then, the animal control interlocal agreement. That was kind of brought up at our joint meeting the other night as well. Kathy was kind of looking for an increase in her payment on that agreement. I know the county was going to go back and discuss it at some point. I think they had a meeting this last week, but I don't know if it came up in their discussions or not. I haven't had a chance to go back and look at their meeting, but so I don't know where the county's thoughts lie. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was.
We didn't include it in your packets. We probably should have, but we had included a lot in the packets.
Yeah, it's busy.
The animal control agreement.
But I think it's, yeah, I'm just trying to think annually what it was. It's like 27,000 annually, I think, and
27,000 annually, and then
bump up to 36,000 annually is kind of what she was looking for. But
and then the split was 70-30. As far as the repayment from the county would be 30%.
yeah, I think theirs would go up to 900 from 675, I believe, is what it came to. But
What percentage of increase is that? Is that 6 or 9?
overall,
Yeah, overall.
27, 36. I mean, that's gonna
Increase
be
in 9,000.
bigger than that.
10,000.
Yeah.
Did we already have,
30%?
I thought we had an
33%?
increase written into this coming year budget for the animal control?
We do.
We did in anticipation that
Anticipation of that?
that we would be.
But it wasn't that amount, right? It's less than that? Okay.
Our portion of that contract is less than the 36,000.
Okay.
It'd be 70% of that. Whoever's got a calculator handy.
You didn't know as mayor you needed to be able to do math quick,
I'm not doing
right?
math. I asked you.
Yeah.
Okay. I think, you know, Kathy hasn't had an increase in her, in that contract since it started, so, you know, I think we're definitely in a position where, you know, she needs an increase there. I don't know that I'm comfortable, like, going to that extreme right away. I just wonder if maybe it's a better plan that we do the increase that we already had written in now, and then do the rest of it, budget that in for the next year, just because, you know, we just approved our budget, and we're already talking about maybe raising what we just approved. To me, it seems like it might make more sense to wait and do the rest of it for next year, but it's just my 2 cents, I guess. But she definitely, we need to make an increase in there.
Maybe in the next meeting, maybe we can have some more solid numbers as to what percentage of an increase that would be and what kind of expectation I would then have for the county, and if they would be in agreement with that.
Yeah.
Interlocal agreements always get complicated because there's always this little bit of back and forth, so you got to go with each other so you come to an agreeable number. But are we okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Coming back, seeing what exactly the increase would be using the budgeted amount that we budgeted. So I think you're right. I don't think it would be quite that. Maybe probably get her instead of 9,000, maybe 6 or 7,000 maybe. Doing my terrible mental math that I'm doing in my head right now. Yeah, can we bring those numbers forward next meeting and see what we think, and then have something to kind of present to the county to see what their thoughts are. And then maybe by then we'll have some thoughts from them as well.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay? Anything else anybody need to discuss under discussion items? Okay, then let's move on to reports, starting with our city manager, Kent. Starting with our appointed voting delegate, Kent. I like that.
The manager memo, I don't know if it was included in with the packet, so, or it's at the beginning, that's right. Apologize for that. Didn't even bring it up, but that's included for you. Your month-end fund balances, we're still looking very good, solid financial position at this point of the 2022 budget year. So we're still doing okay, even as different things have occurred that we've had to address, but we're still looking pretty solid at this point. As far as the airport runway project update, I'll ask Andrew with EBH to provide that information.
Things are wrapping up. The anticipation is the week of the 19th to have the majority of everything completed. That's sawing, sealing, striping, electrical to a point before we have to wait on materials to come in on the FAA change order. We did hear we got verbal approval on that, nothing on paper, but verbal approval on it. But really the only thing we don't have hard kind of set in on a completion is fencing, the little bit of fencing that goes out there and some seating. But our anticipation is the week of the 19th to have basically everything, like I said, except for that material that had to be ordered for the electricians to come back and install that on those PAPI boxes or those PAPI lights. So it's right there, it's close, looks good.
So with the airport, would they open up that runway again after that date?
We would have to note them. After all that work's done around that area, the only thing we're going to have to do is note them that there is no actual visual approach because those PAPIs won't be able to function. Obviously missing some of the equipment.
Instrument approach. They'll still be able to do a visual approach.
Yeah, they'll still be able to do a visual approach on that.
Did you say that they finally figured out like who's going to pay for that, or is that still kind of up in the air?
Verbally, yes.
Okay, that's the problem.
Okay. That's why, yeah, we haven't seen anything come down yet for paperwork.
Okay.
But yeah, we did get verbal that they came to an agreement, possibly. So.
And the concrete is all approved at this point? I mean, as far as it's all poured, it's all in place?
It's all poured, it's in place. We've gotten great test results the entire project, so. They did have some areas where they were a little out of tolerance on the smoothness. They have a lot tighter tolerance on those runways than they do on streets or roadways. So they were out there doing some grinding sporadically kind of throughout that project, but nothing that's going to hurt the pavement structure. Just giving them a little bit nicer finish. So, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
The transportation van, we are back in service. We did, and we do appreciate the cooperation of Thomas County, allowing us to borrow their vehicle, rent their vehicle. We're not just borrowing it and leaving a note, but we are renting their vehicle for the next few weeks. The one thing that's come up is that I believe the damage that's been done to the transportation van is sufficient enough that we're going to have to total the van. We've gone Mary has done a lot of discussion with the KDOT. And actually, Mary, why don't you speak on that regarding some of that information, if you could?
Not my cheat sheets. Okay, we have two options they gave us, is we could total loss it, and they would give us a dollar amount, and 80% of that, since it is an 80-20 grant, will go back to the state. Or we could do a salvage title, and they would allow us to keep all that money to put into the repair of the van. However, the concern is, with the estimate that we have, we cannot get full view of the engine and transmission. And in speaking with Levi, our mechanic, Kenton, who's mechanically inclined, and the people from Advanced, they are very concerned and feel like this is a very high risk to keep the vehicle, not knowing what you're going to further run into. KDOT is working very diligently. They are taking some vans out of their program because some programs aren't operating the mileage requirement that they're supposed to. So they are working, trying to find us a van to use until we can go to the next process of bidding a new van. And if we did get one of those vans, we would pay the fair market value of the van based upon the mileage and that kind of stuff. But the one thing we have against us right now is the timing. They've just started the program of taking those vans out of operation. And she thought she'd know more at the end of last week, but she was out of the office, so I didn't get a hold of her. But you're talking your 30 to 60 days out. Mm-hmm. And right now we can use Thomas County's as long as their van that, where they can operate a handicap lift continues to work. If it does break down, they would ask for their van back because that is their only means of transporting wheelchairs and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I guess our decision is we got to figure out what to do. If you want to do the salvage or if you want to do the loss. In order to do the salvage, I'll be very honest with you, you have to get a certified statement from a mechanic saying that vehicle is sound and safe. And I can't find one. I'm just going to tell you, I can't find one right now. Because Advanced isn't willing to do that, and Levi's not willing to do that, and I don't know where you're going to find one.
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction is, especially in the long term, we would probably be better off just taking it to the loss and not trying to salvage it. But, yeah, just a tough spot to be in regarding the van right now, unfortunately. But
it is. And I will be very honest with you, that van is used. I mean, today it was wild. I mean, there was a lot of citizens of ours that used that van.
And it points out the need that eventually we should get to a point where we have more than one van, that we have a backup van available, just because of the amount of use that it gets done, and if anything, even to take it down for a day or two just for regular maintenance causes an issue for us. And we are, people use it to get to their doctor's appointments, to get to their other type of appointments, and then to go to their regular grocery shopping. There's people that depend on that transportation. And, we have pretty limited hours. That's the other thing too. We're basically from 9 o'clock till about 2:30. They have to schedule those things to get done. So it just points out it was working great as long as it kept working, and now that it wasn't working, it really gave us a window to be able to see how much people depend on that service. It's hard to state that to people, but then you have an incident like this happen and it really provides a visual example of what happens with it. So, but we will have additional costs in order to replace the van. We're just going to try to minimize that as much as possible. But the first step is whether to total the van or to salvage it, and I don't really think salvage is reasonable option at this point. You guys okay with staff proceeding as is?
Yeah.
I'm not asking for it, but it's in reports, but it's still something, still a relevant act saying,
Yeah.
we're okay on the route we're going at this point.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did ask the police chief for an update on the police vehicles that we had awarded early in the year. And Chief, could you speak to that real quickly?
Good evening.
Evening.
So when we first asked for these vehicles, and I said that, you know, it would be a minimum of July before we received them. Well, I was wrong. Well, I was actually not wrong, but the last update, I talked to Dan Brenner last week. We actually have a build date now of October 24th. He said, you may have them by December. So just kind of give you an idea of why, you know, we were like, okay, we're going to go months and months without, you know, these vehicles. So all the equipment to outfit, it's in. Levi has it. We went through everything. Everything's here. Just no cars. So hopefully by December or sometime in December, we will have these cars. Hopefully. So that was just kind of the date or the month he gave me. So just keeping our fingers crossed now.
Yeah, vehicles has definitely been one of those things where you can't be in a hurry to get one.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
at least we're still on the list, I guess.
Yeah, the way he explained it to me is they build like a lot or a certain amount of regular vehicles, and then they'll squeeze in some police vehicles, and then they'll go back to the regular one. And we're nowhere near how many they're producing for the regular, so we're just kind of stuck in the middle somewhere, and hopefully eventually, you know, we'll get to that line. So we have reached it. You know, he was excited. He said, we have VIN numbers now, so once they issue a VIN number, then it's up for production. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Good deal.
Good.
Thank you.
Chief.
I included the homecoming parade that we've had a request to close Main Street. Actually, Kenton, could you speak real quickly regarding that request for closure and the timing of it?
I do believe they were requesting for 1 o'clock on Friday to be closed. They're going to close it from 13th Street. They're going to start their assembly at the Max Jones parking lot, so they want 13th all the way closed, clear to Main Street, along with Main Street from 13th to 8th Street. So until the homecoming parade's closed. So.
And the one reason I was making sure we bring it up here is that they've also requested that the parking areas along Main Street be blocked off, and that could affect the businesses downtown, obviously. We're hoping to have it as short as possible, basically from noon to 1 time frame till, you know, shortly after it's completed. So.
And I haven't, I've been talking to Emmett. I was going to call him tomorrow. I think his Emmett Rudolph. He's the one kind of request. They wanted some, they wanted staging areas for the kids in certain blocks. So I kind of talked to him a little bit, stating that if we're going to do something like that, we need to let some business owners, know about it, make sure they're okay with it. So.
Do we typically block off the parking? I mean, we block off the access to get to the parking if you aren't already there, but.
That's where we're kind of at on it too. We're like, well, the streets are closed and nobody's going to have access onto it, so there shouldn't be anybody parked there unless they're already parked there before we close the streets down.
Are they looking for us to actually clear the vehicles off of Main Street for this period of time?
They didn't ask for it, but they just kind of would like to have some parking stalls blocked off, so.
I think the way that it's been done the last couple of years is that they've closed off the parking stalls just so the kids aren't darting out in between vehicles to get candy. And then like 1 o'clock, if the way it was last year, the barricades were just set on the corner of the street. And about 1 o'clock, school officials and we went down there and just moved them out and kind of pulled them out into the parking areas where there weren't vehicles already parked. So we were going down there at a time when there weren't a bunch of vehicles out there. But that's been the way that they've done it for the last probably 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure it goes smooth. It's, you know, thing that's needed for downtown, bring them downtown as we can, but don't want to impact or have as little impact as possible to the businesses on that afternoon. So, and make sure nobody gets hurt.
I told him we're more than willing to work with him on how the cones, after he figures out what blocks they want to do that with for the students, we're more than willing to work with them with whatever they need happen on that stuff.
Very good. Thank you.
Of course, I don't have it in front of me. We have received a zoning change request. We will have a meeting at the end of the month with the Planning Commission for a zoning change request regarding 2 properties that are 1600 block of Colorado, or the part of 16th that's adjacent. 500, it's 500 West or something like that. Might be more. West 16th. So there's 2 different parcels, and both asked for a zoning change from residential to commercial. The south half of that 1600 block is commercial already. So it's, even though it doesn't appear commercial, it's still commercially zoned.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then because of the unfortunate circumstances that occurred last week, the sheriff and everybody associated with provide memorial service for the undersheriff. We'll want to hold it in Chambers Park on Saturday. And so they've asked for some changes to the seating arrangements that we have in the park currently, so they can set up for an actual funeral service, memorial service in Chambers Park. So, and what time will that be held? Saturday? 10 a.m. on Saturday. And I'm sure there will be large number of law enforcement officers and their vehicles that will be attending, and other folks. So if you want, sure, go ahead, Sam, sure.
I didn't realize it, but the game wardens were going to do a 21 gun salute. Just want to inform you that that's going to be occurring at Chambers Park. I didn't know they planned on that, but they told me today that they had it put in place. So it is blanks, but there will be 21 gunshots going on.
We'll just make sure that's coordinated. All that chief stepped out for a minute. We'll make sure it's coordinated with the chief in place of all. And then, were you able to talk with Danny, Superintendent? Great job.
Thank you.
Regarding what you needed. So, just to let the public know that I'm sure there will be a number, I mean, it will be a very busy and congested area down there on Saturday. So, and the rest of the park will be closed during that service. So, which I'm just thinking of now. Thinking of Danny, we may need to post something to let people know the entire park is closed for that morning. So, and that's all I have, I think, at this point.
Pray for good weather.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments for our city manager? All right, thank you, Ken. Okay, we'll start with commissioner reports. We'll start down here on my left with Commissioner Redland.
I have nothing to report.
Commissioner Howard.
Nothing here.
Commissioner Myers.
Nothing here.
Commissioner Showalter.
Just want to recognize the service of Under Sheriff Diesel and the work that he put in, not only with the county, but also the city. So thank him and his family.
Okay. For mayor's report, I have nothing else to add. I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 7 o'clock.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Redland.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Howard. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.